Mike Gill, Pete Thompson, Michael Kaskey-Blomain, and we're joined by the Chief Executive Officer of the 76ers, Scott ONeil, your old haunts down here at Jack's Place.
Yes, I've made many a bad decision down here.
So we've heard. Read the police blotter a few times.
That wasn't me.
That was Treat Williams.
Yes, it was.
That was what I said during the break. Scott, I've never met you before today. Wonderful smile, nice guy. First time we meet, the first thing I think of is, God, that guy looks like Treat Williams, the actor. And he says, yeah, I've had that before. And then I revealed to him, yeah, unfortunately, people used to say I looked like skinny John Goodman. And now they're like, hey, I loved your work in Roseanne. You were great in King Ralph. Thanks a lot.
Well, you got to smile ear to ear. I mean, we joke it's a team that won 10 games last year, and there's a line out the door going around the block. You can anticipate that people are really excited about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's been it's very humbling, to go through the last. It's not just the 10-win season last year, but the two previous to that were difficult as well. And our fan base has grown. I've been here 3 years, and our fan base continues to grow. And this summer, we're actually number one in the league in new full season ticket sales, and we'll likely be in the top 12 or 13 in full seasons in the entire league. And look, it has as much to do with the excitement of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid likely playing, Dario Saric coming, Sergio Rodriguez, and all these additions. But it really says more about this market and the Philadelphia 76er fan base. There is nothing like this in the world.
Why do you think you've been able to keep the fans invested?
Boy,
you mentioned it. I said 10 wins. You went back to the two previous.
Right.
Why? How? How have you been able to do it?
Man, I will tell you, there are some markets that I think are just special, and this is one of those markets. I was trying to explain to my wife on the way over here. It's like you have to understand. She grew up in Utah, big Utah Jazz fan. And during the heyday there, her grandmother knew who John Stockton was. And I think that's the way Philadelphia is. I think you could ask your grandmother who the number one pick is, and she would say, Ben Simmons, the lefty. He's 6'10", 240. He's got a 40-inch vertical. He's from Australia. We love him. And I think when you have a market, I call it the grandma test. You don't have that test does not pass muster when you're in Miami or Dallas or L.A. This is just a market. We live, we breathe, we eat, we sleep, we drink. Sports. And fortunately for us, Sixers have struck a chord.
Well, let me because, and I said this on my show, this is a team that, when you were in the 40-win range, didn't seem like a lot of interest. Half-empty building. Yeah, they were winning games. Just didn't seem like anybody connected. Here's a team that wins 10, 19, and yet people are connecting. It's a bizarre thing that the team was trying to win, but they were in the middle. Nobody cared. It seems that now people have connected with a team that hasn't won a whole heck of a lot. That, to me, is unbelievable.
Sure. I think maybe there are a couple of things. I've been in this business over 20 years now, and I would say that there are two things that light up a fan base, hope and winning. And we certainly have hope, and we're looking forward to the winning. And I'm not sure that that's this season. We certainly are going to be fun and young, and I think you're about to hop on a pretty good and fun roller coaster. But I don't think you're looking at a playoff team here. I think it's widely known that this is a team that some nights you're going to see things that you'll never see again. Some nights you're going to light us on fire and get us out of our seats screaming and yelling. And there are going to be moments where we're going to wince in pain at what you typically do when there's a really young team on the court. Especially when you have a Ben Simmons who's a young guy who will be handling the ball a lot. You're talking about pure PGs that come up through the system. Oftentimes struggle as rookies, and here's a guy with a 6'10" frame who's ripping boards off the top of the backboard. So I think we're in for an adventure, and I say that in the best and worst, most treacherous, and most exciting ways you can ever have them.
Scott, Michael Kaskey-Blomain, it's been a while since the team, I think, has had a talent like Simmons that you could really point to and say, this guy has superstar potential. This is a guy that could be the future of the franchise going forward. Really maybe since Iverson. What does that mean just to the fan base to have a guy that they could just identify with and point to as, a guy that's going to be here and that's going to be the foundation and that's going to be built around? What do you think that means just to all these people, the fan base in the greater Philadelphia area?
Sure, I think he has a chance to be a transformational player, but a lot of what we're talking about is I think Joel Embiid does as well. And I think Saric is going to be a heck of a pro in this league. And I think Jahlil Okafor proved that he can score with anybody in this league. And so when we talk about this team internally, we very much talk about kind of like the Three Amigos or the Young Guns or some other analogy that gets this young talent that emerges together, because he's 19 years old and we don't know. Okay, everybody in the world sees it and thinks it. We've seen him, the way he passes the ball, and you could come up with crazy names of all-time greats, and he looks like that. And then you see him charging down the court after a rebound. It looks like the whole court tilts downhill, and he looks like a freight train. And there are other players that he might remind you of. We're trying to build a team, and he could be a great foundational piece and a terrific star amongst stars. And so we're hoping for a constellation here.
How about Coach Brett Brown?
Did you pick that up? I just made that up. That was pretty good. A collection of stars. I mean, sometimes I don't even understand what I'm saying.
It's like on the Franklin mascot down there. Just look at the little stars.
I like all those Under Armour
and the Big Dipper. A little Wilt reference.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm going to keep going with it.
We're just going to call you Galileo, since apparently you're just finding stars left and right.
Yes.
Of course, the head of all this on the floor would be Brett Brown.
Yes.
Can you speak in enough superlatives about why he's the right guy to mold this clay, to shape these guys and bring them together?
I sure can. I mean, first of all, the bearded Brett Brown now, as you call him.
The bearded one.
Everyone, I truly believe that everyone is born with gifts, and Brett's are special, and I think really lend itself to a coach that can be here for some time. He has an incredible way to connect with people. He truly wants to develop these young men to be really productive members of society, and not only great basketball players, which I love. And you know what? And he has the gift to make people understand that you have to give a little and sacrifice for the betterment of the overall good for the team. And I think those three traits for him, at least from my experience with coaches, certainly separate him from others. He has a wonderful way with young men. And he is more comfortable in a gym than he is out of the gym.
Hey, I got to ask you this. How much is Joel being here today an indication from you guys of we believe he'll be fine? Like, would you put him out in a public setting like this if he was not, in your minds, ready?
Well, hopefully you've read some quotes from Brett, recently. And I can echo those, and we actually might hear from Joe at some point today publicly. So, but he is confident in where he is. He's kind of within the protocols and systems we've set up. He seems to be right in that wheelhouse. He is feeling good, and he would call himself healthy. We're taking every precaution you could ever imagine taking with a guy of his talent, ability, skill set, and just raw size. I just spoke with him about an hour ago. We spent some time together. He's really comfortable. He's been playing 5-on-5s. I can tell you, I was sitting next to Robert Covington in Vegas, and I was asking him about how some of the runs were going, and I asked him about Joe, and he said, "Oh, he's going to be a problem." And I said, I kind of stood up and my eyes got wide. I said, a problem? He said, for the rest of the league.
Oh, yeah.
Which I kind of chuckled at. It was a great line. You don't hear many of those from the young players.
Right.
And so he certainly is impressing his teammates. He's very excited about getting on the court. Our whole aim is to be patient and make sure that we have him have a long and successful and productive career. So we always talk about 10 years versus 10 minutes.
Right.
So we can do everything we can about these first 10 minutes, or we can focus on the long term in 10 minutes, and let's let him progress at the right rate. We've got outstanding health and wellness. Dr. David Martin kind of heads up our practice and has done a wonderful job kind of engaging Joel. And he has been so disciplined and aggressive in making sure that he's following and doing everything he possibly can to get on the court for that first preseason game.
So October 4th, you think he'll be on the floor?
He thinks he's going to. Our doctors are saying he does.
How about
our
you?
Doctors are saying that he's on schedule to do that, and I hate to make any promises before I see him on that court. But I will tell you, if there's, I'm not much of one. When I pray, I usually give thanks. I mean, look at me and the job I have. It's almost unheard of. And so that is one thing I may or may not be praying above for.
Scott, do you guys have a plan for kind of easing him back into action? You know, like, I don't think anyone expects him to be out there 82 games, 35 minutes a game. Have you talked internally about an approach to kind of get him acclimated to the NBA game and not to, overdo it early on with him, just getting back into the flow?
We sure have. We have a battery of doctors trying to figure out the best rhythm for him to play. And they are working along with him and his great agent, Leon Rose, who's a tremendous friend of the organization and a terrific agent, with our doctors, with his doctors, with our strength and conditioning guys. Everyone is kind of starting to come together on what that plan actually looks like.
Hey, before we let you run, I know there's a lot of people out here you want to mingle with.
It's not as fun as being with you today here.
We're under the tent.
At least we got
you under the tent. We got that going for us, which is nice. But I talked to Brett, I guess Wednesday, and he talked about Dario and Sergio about the amount he's seen these guys play. We talk so much about the high-profile guys on this team because they're big names. They were high draft picks. Who are some of the guys that intrigue the organization now that they have all these pieces around them?
Yeah, I mean, it would take me 20 minutes to run through the list. I think there are pieces on this. I mean, you could go 1 to 15 on this list, and I think I could certainly find something to be excited about. I mean, you just mentioned 2 of them, Sergio, or El Chacho, as they call him in Spain. Look, if you saw him in the Olympics, he's just a pure PG who can shoot the ball. And so we were looking a lot for catch and shoot guys. So you saw Jared Bayless as kind of an example of a guy who can come and catch and shoot. Good complementary player for a Ben Simmons who likes to handle the ball. And then Sergio gives you a little different look with a much more pure point guard, veteran presence, a calm. You saw whenever Spain went south in the game, depends on how closely you watched it, the coach tapped Sergio on the shoulder and sent him in there, and he just brought some calm. And Dario. Super Dario, as we like to call him. I cannot wait to see him in a Sixers uniform. It's going to be fun.
Who was the salesman that got him to come here?
Right.
Who's that guy?
Mr. Brett Brown, you can thank. We can all send him a thank you note. And Brian Colangelo, of course, who's done a wonderful job putting his team together.
There was
not a good economic decision for him, right?
He wants to play against the best players in the world. And I think, we all have a competitive streak in us, or we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
That was well publicized, that it was not a good economic decision. So somebody did a good job. Good salesman job.
But again, you have Brett Brown, the players coach, and you have Brian Colangelo, an experienced guy who is talking about putting together the foundation of a team. And you want to be part of this foundation when this group is growing. And I think Super Dario does.
All right, Scott ONeil, Sixers CEO. We're here at Jack's Place. We'll let you get back to the party.
I hate long goodbyes. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Scott.
Take care, pal.
Thanks, Scott.